and Ayo Adewuyi as Executive Director of News. Presidential spokesman Bayo Onanuga disclosed this in a statement on Tuesday. He said Tinubu restored the two senior executives to their tenures, which were briefly disrupted by changes in NTA management. Recall that on August 20, the president made a series of new appointments in NTA, including the appointment of Rotimi Pedro as the Director General of NTA, while Stella Din as Executive Director of News. Tinubu also appointed Karima Bello as the Executive Director of Marketing, and Sophia Mohammed was named as Managing Director of NTA Enterprises Limited. However, Onanuga said Dembos, who was appointed in October 2023, will now return to complete his 3-year tenure. Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu has directed an immediate review of security operations in Katsina State with a pledge to strengthen the fight against banditry through the deployment of advanced military hardware and surveillance gadgets. The president at the State House, Abuja, while receiving a delegation of eminent citizens from Katsina led by Governor Diko Rada. Tinubu said the country's security challenges were surmountable, but assured that the federal government is considering the establishment of state police and the upgrade of forest guards to reinforce grassroots security. Tinubu stressed the need for security outfits that understand local terrain and culture, adding that daily feedback on security operations in the state must now be provided. In the meantime, President Bola Tinubu has said his administration will remain resilient and has no fear of the trade policy direction of U.S. President Donald Trump, particularly tariffs targeting Nigerian exports. Tinubu made the remarks when he received in audience members of the Buhari organization led by former governor of Nasarawa State, Senator Tanko Al-Makura, who paid him a solidarity visit at the presidential villa in Abuja. The president cited Nigeria's current economic trajectory and growing non-oil revenues as buffers against external shocks. He highlighted Nigeria's strengthened fiscal position, having met its 2025 revenue target as of August, and noted a stabilization in the naira, which has appreciated to around 1,450 naira per dollar from a previous rate of 1,900 naira after he unified the exchange rate upon assuming office in May 2023. Recall that President Trump's second term has ushered in sweeping changes to U.S. trade policy, including the imposition of a 10% baseline tariff on nearly all imports alongside country-specific levies. Elsewhere, the Vice President, Senator Kashim Shettima, yesterday reaffirmed President Bola Tinubu's unwavering commitment to the peace, security and stability of the Gulf of Guinea, with particular emphasis on ongoing reforms in the Gulf of Guinea Commission, GGC. Speaking while receiving the Executive Secretary of the Commission, Jose Mba Abeso, and his delegation at the Presidential Villa, Abuja, Shettima stressed Nigeria's dedication to regional cooperation and alignment with the African Union's 2050 Integrated Maritime Strategy. Commending the Commission's management, Shettima assured the delegation of Nigeria's unalloyed commitment to its ideals and objectives. Earlier, Abeso sought Nigeria's support for the Commission's reform agenda, which includes expanding its membership to all 19 coastal states of the Gulf of Guinea, enhancing regional peace and security, and engaging insurance companies to review high shipping premiums in the area. The GGC chief also praised Nigeria's leadership in establishing the Combined Maritime Task Force and urged President Tinubu to rally other regional leaders to operationalize the force. From the judiciary now, where the National Industrial Court in Abuja has nullified a provision in the harmonized terms and conditions of service for officers of the Nigerian Armed Forces, which mandated soldiers to serve a minimum of 15 years before being allowed to resign. Delivering judgment on Tuesday in a suit filed by Flight Lieutenant J.A. Akerele, Justice Emmanuel Subilim described the rule as oppressive and a gross violation of fundamental rights guaranteed by the 1999 Constitution as amended. Akerele, who was commissioned as a pilot officer in 2013 during the administration of former President Goodluck Jonathan, had challenged the Nigeria's Air Force's refusal to accept his resignation. He said the then Chief of Air Staff not only rejected his resignation but also declared him absent without leave and issued a signal for his arrest. Through his lawyer, Inibere Effiong, Akerele detailed his ordeal in an affidavit citing abrupt termination of his flight training in the United States, career stagnation, repeated changes in career paths, and cancelled training opportunities. This, he said, caused him severe emotional distress, victimization, and loss of direction, which damaged his mental health. Back here, Akwa Ibom State Governor Pastor Omoeno has said hospitality facilities belonging to the state government would no longer be run at a loss under his administration. Governor Eno gave the assurance while fielding questions from Government House correspondents shortly after his inspection tour of the ongoing renovation of facilities at the Ibom Hotel and Golf Resort. The governor, who said the state has numerous hospitality facilities including the Ibom Hotel and Golf Resort, the 4 Points by Sheraton in Ikorikbene, the ongoing Arise Resort and facilities in Lagos and Abuja, insisted that they must be strategically managed as profit-making ventures. To ensure that the state hospitality facilities are delivering efficiently and profitably, the governor, who is a fellow of the Nigerian Hotel and Catering Institute, NHCI, said government would put in place a strategic hospitality management group to properly develop a state brand. Governor Eno therefore called on indigenous professional hoteliers, both at home and in the diaspora, to look inward and be part of the Akwa Ibom hospitality brand. The governor emphasized that experienced indigenous hoteliers who have made their marks in the hospitality industry will be given a chance to showcase their proficiency in the running of the hotel. Government House correspondent Jane Uwa reports that the governor, who explained that he came to see the prototype rooms to ensure its readiness for usage come December as expected, disclosed that the ongoing upgrade of facilities in the hotel will be done in phases to meet up its total overhaul. In the meantime, Akwa Ibom State Governor Pastor Omoeno has said the annual state anniversary Thanksgiving service will hold on Sunday, September 21, 2025 at the International Christian Worship Center. The governor made this known at the Government House monthly covenant service held at the Banquet Hall, Government House, Uyo. He said the Thanksgiving service is expedient given the countless blessings of God upon the state since its creation. He said there were numerous projects at different stages of completion, adding that the state under his leadership will continue to do its best to further on the development trajectory. The governor emphasized on the need for everyone to get to work as a panacea to the socio-economic challenges, saying that Akwa Ibom State was not operating on a communist philosophy and no form of grant or palliative can be sustainable. We move now to Africa, where Sudan appealed for international aid on Tuesday after a landslide wiped out an entire village in western region of Darfur, killing an estimated 1,000 people in one of the deadliest natural disasters in the African country's recent history. The village of Tarasan was completely leveled to the ground, the Sudan Liberation Movement Army said as it appealed to the UN and international aid groups for help to recover the bodies. Reports say the tragedy happened Sunday in the village, located in central Darfur's Mara Mountains, after days of heavy rainfall. Abdel Wahid Noah, the group's leader, made an appeal on Tuesday for international help. Still in Africa, UN officials called for the government of Cameroon to ensure free and transparent elections, citing several recent incidents that raised concern about the country's upcoming election, where President Paul Biya will seek an 8th term in office. During the bi-weekly press briefing in Geneva, Jeremy Lawrence, the spokesperson for the Office of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, warned of rising restrictions on the activities of opposition political parties in the lead-up to the election, including the ban of certain gatherings, the exclusion of some political figures from the race and irregularities in voter registration. Recall that the 92-year-old president announced in July that he would seek re-election, ending speculation that he might step aside. Cameroon's second president since independence from France in 1960, Biya has been in power since 1982. Biya, Africa's second longest-serving president after Teodoro Obiang of Equatorial Guinea, is frequently sick and abroad. On the foreign scene, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and Russia's Vladimir Putin are expected to flank President Xi Jinping at a massive parade in Beijing today, in a historic moment capping a week of diplomatic grandstanding against the West. China will showcase its military prowess with troops marching in formation, fly past and displays of high-tech fighting gear at the showpiece extravaganza centered on Beijing's Tiananmen Square to mark 80 years since the end of World War II. Pearl Harbor in 1941. All eyes will be on how the trio of Xi, Putin and Kim, who rarely leave secretive North Korea, interacts with each other in a highly choreographed photo opportunity seen as a coup for China on the world stage. Meanwhile, Wednesday's 70-minute event is the climax of a whirlwind week for President Xi, who on Sunday and Monday hosted a slew of Eurasian leaders for a summit in the northern port city of Tianjin, aimed at putting China front and center of regional relations. Still on the foreign scene, a U.S. House of Representatives committee has released the first batch of documents from its probe into sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, posting more than 33,000 pages of Justice Department records on its website. More than 33,000 pages of records related to Epstein were uploaded to a House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform website after being handed over by the Justice Department. Commerce Committee had subpoenaed the Justice Department for the documents, and the first batch of records was turned over last month. It was not immediately clear what is new in the batch of documents released on Tuesday. Thousands of pages of documents related to the Epstein investigation have been released previously. The House Committee said in a statement that it expects to receive more records from the Justice Department, and they are being redacted to protect victim identities and remove any child sexual abuse material. Epstein, a wealthy financier with high-level connections, died in a New York jail cell in 2019 while awaiting trial for alleged sex trafficking of underage girls recruited to provide him with sexual massages. Still to come in the news. Premier League clubs break €3 billion barrier to roar ahead of rivals. Stay tuned for details of this and more in a jiffy. Welcome back, and thank you so much for sticking with us. And now we conclude the rest of our news stories. On our business news, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, has appointed Andy Ode and Morenike Adewumi as Chief Corporate Communications Officer and Chief Relations Officer. Ode's appointment comes 2 months after the resignation of Femi Soneye as NNPC spokesperson. In a statement on Tuesday, the National Oil Company also announced the appointment of Morenike Adewumi as Chief Relations Officer. According to the oil firm, Ode has over 3 decades of extensive experience in communications and business administration across the oil and gas, advertising and broadcasting industry. Before joining the NNPC, he had a 26-year career at Nigeria LNG and LNG. Still in business, the federal government is concluding arrangements to list 2 electricity distribution companies, DISCOs, and 1 generation company, GENCO, on the Nigerian exchange. Director General, Bureau of Public Enterprises, BPE, Ayodeji Gbeleyi, at his maiden media briefing yesterday in Abuja, said the government was considering unbundling its equity stakes in 2 DISCOs and a GENCO in first phase of transactions aimed at unlocking values and enhancing operating efficiency of national assets and state-owned enterprises. Gbeleyi, who was appointed by President Bola Tinubu mid-2024, said the unbundling would be done by offering part of government's residual equity stakes in the 3 power companies to the investing public through initial public offerings, IPOs. He said the transactions would involve part of 40% equity stake and 30% equity stake jointly owned by federal and state governments in the DISCOs and GENCO, respectively. We move over to health. The Nasarawa state government has called on residents across the 13 local government areas of the state to fully key into the federal government's proposed immunization program to eliminate measles and rubella, which is to be launched in October. The Executive Secretary of the Nasarawa State Primary Healthcare Development Agency, Usman Iskilu Saleh, met the call in Lafia, the state capital, on Tuesday during an orientation exercise for journalists, which was organized by the agency ahead of the measles-rubella vaccination flag-off by the federal government. He noted that the meeting was geared towards providing journalists with the right information on the vaccine for onward dissemination to members of the public. Iskilu Saleh, who was represented by the Director of Immunization in the agency, Ishmaila Oko, explained that misinformation had been the challenge of vaccine uptake, hence the need for the media engagements. To sports news now, where record spending of £3 billion during the summer transfer window further cements the Premier League as the most competitive in world football, according to financial expert Deloitte. The window disclosed in dramatic style late on Monday when Liverpool announced the British record £125 million signing of Newcastle striker Alexander Isak after a day of big moves. The gross spending of more than £3 billion during the window is around £650 million higher than the previous record of £2.4 billion set in 2023. According to Deloitte, it is the third consecutive summer in which gross spend has exceeded £2 billion and the first in which it has reached £3 billion. Still in sports, Manchester City confirmed the signing of Italy goalkeeper Gianluigi Donnarumma from Paris Saint-Germain on Tuesday after selling the long-serving Edison to Fenerbahce. Donnarumma, 26, has spent a 5-year deal at the Etihad for a reported fee of £26 million. Donnarumma, who will wear the 99 shirt, was an integral part of the PSG team that won the Champions League last season and was in goal for Italy when they won Euro 2020. But his omission from PSG's Super Cup squad made it clear he was surplus to requirements in Paris after the club signed Lucas Chevalier from Lille. Donnarumma, who stands 1.96 meters, 6 feet 5 inches tall, started his career at AC Milan, where he made his debut as a 16-year-old before signing for PSG in 2021. He has made 412 club appearances and won 74 international caps. On our entertainment news, Sheena, the only child of veteran actress Peju Ogunmola, has died. According to reports, the tragic incident occurred on Tuesday while Ogunmola was on a movie set. The 24-year-old passed away a few months after completing his National Youth Service Corps NYSC program. Sheena's death was announced in a Facebook post on Tuesday night by Seun Oloketui, a popular filmmaker. And that's all we have for you at this time. Do ensure to follow us on all our social media handles and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtvlive.ng. You have been watching Spectrum News at 10. I am Ofonono Joseph. Good morning.